Bonjour tout le monde. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Jagmeet, you are good to go ahead.
Merci, thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Off the top, I want to point out that this has been a very difficult 2 weeks for us in Canada. We are still reeling from the horrible discovery of 215 Indigenous children in unmarked graves in Kamloops and the painful reality of genocide of Indigenous people in Canada and the ongoing trauma that Indigenous communities face. We also are reeling from the horrific killing of a Muslim family, leaving one small child struggling for his life. And that attack was motivated by hate against Muslims. It was an act of terror that was designed by its very nature to instill fear and terror into the hearts of the Muslim community. And coming out of these very painful moments, these very painful tragedies, Canadians are demanding action. Indigenous communities are demanding that the Liberal government take real steps. Instead of just words, they want real steps. So we're asking this Liberal government to stop fighting Indigenous kids in court. The court date is fast approaching. These are kids that have been found to be discriminated by Canada, both willfully and recklessly. And despite that Canadian Human Rights Tribunal decision, this Liberal government and Justin Trudeau are fighting these kids in court, appealing that decision. We're asking them to stop. To walk the path of reconciliation means not fighting these kids in court. And to the Muslim community that is reeling from this devastating terror attack, the community wants to see real action to tackle the root causes of this hate. We know that in the Quebec massacre and in the killing of a Muslim man in Toronto, both attackers were motivated by hate, and they were radicalized by hate with online right-wing white supremacist messages that radicalized them to have so much hate to go out and kill Muslims. So we need to tackle online hate. And we need to see concrete actions. Donc, ce qu'on a vu dans les 2 semaines passées, c'était des événements horribles. La découverte de 215 enfants autochtones a bouleversé les gens à travers le pays. Et la communauté autochtone demande les actions concrètes. Les mots, ce n'est pas suffisant. On doit aller au-delà des mots et prendre des actions concrètes. Donc, on demande au gouvernement libéral et Justin Trudeau d'arrêter de poursuivre en justice les enfants autochtones. Ce sont les enfants autochtones qui étaient discriminés par le gouvernement canadien. Ce sont les enfants autochtones que le tribunal de droits de la personne du Canada a dit étaient discriminés. Malgré ça, le gouvernement libéral les poursuit en justice. Donc, on dit arrêtez ces batailles et travaillez avec la communauté autochtone. Deuxièmement, ce qui s'est passé à London, c'était un acte de terreur, un acte qui a blessé la communauté musulmane. C'était un acte qu'on doit reconnaître comme un acte de terreur et un acte on doit répondre. Et la communauté musulmane a dit qu'on doit répondre avec des actions concrètes pour faire face à la haine. Parce que c'était la haine qui a motivé la tueur dans ce cas. C'était la haine qui a motivé les autres tueurs avec la massacre à Québec et aussi l'attentat et la mort d'un homme musulman à Toronto. Donc, on doit reconnaître que ces deux gens étaient radicalisés par la haine en ligne et on doit faire face à la haine contre la communauté musulmane en ligne. Donc, on demande les actions concrètes. On a besoin de ça à ce moment. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. With that, I'm ready to take any questions. So I'll pass the mic back to Melanie. Melanie.
Merci, Jagmeet. We are now ready for questions. If you've got a question, please use the raise your hand function. On est prêt pour les questions. Donc, si vous avez une question, utilisez la fonction lever la main. On va commencer avec Hélène Buzetti. Hélène,
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh, vous m'entendez bien?
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Oui. Je voulais juste revenir à l'attentat de London. Beaucoup de commentateurs et de politiciens ont fait un lien, ou en tout cas, on fait un lien entre la loi 21 au Québec et ce qui s'est passé là-bas. Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez, vous?
Je pense que la loi 21, c'est clairement une loi discriminatoire. Je m'oppose cette loi. Je me bats contre une loi comme ça parce que c'est une loi discriminatoire et ça envoie un message qui dit en particulier aux femmes qui portent une hijab qu'il ne peut pas participer dans la société, il ne peut pas devenir enseignante. C'est un mauvais message, c'est un message discriminatoire et c'est un message qu'il doit arrêter.
Mais spécifiquement, croyez-vous, vous, que ce genre de loi est de nature à encourager des événements comme celui de London, pardon?
La haine, c'est clair que ce qu'on a vu avec les détails livrés par les policiers, c'était un acte de terreur motivé par la haine. Et la haine, ce qu'on sait qu'il y a des haines en ligne qui radicalisent les gens. Donc la loi est une loi discriminatoire. C'est une loi qui blesse la société. C'est une loi qui dit aux femmes qu'ils ne peuvent pas participer dans la société, même si on est des femmes qui ont une rêve dans leur vie de promouvoir la science et devenir une enseignante. Elles ne peuvent pas si elles portent une hijab. Et c'est un message discriminatoire et un mauvais message.
We will go next question to Bill Curry with the Globe and Mail. Bill, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Singh.
Hey there.
I want to follow up on your comment. You said there should be concrete measures to prevent hate and online hate. Stephen Guilbeault had said a bill is coming before the end of the session about kind of ordering platforms to remove content within 24 hours of a complaint. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that idea and then whether there's other specific concrete steps that you are calling for.
Certainly. Well, first off, the Liberal government has been promising action on online hate for years now, and they have not acted. So they need to act immediately, and we need to see a clear approach to tackling online hate. It's been since 2017 since the Liberal government has promised to do something about online hate, and 4 years later, nothing. They keep on saying a bill is coming. Where is the bill? We need action now. We know that online hate was involved in the massacre in Quebec. It was involved in the killing of a Muslim man in Toronto. We know that online hate is radicalizing people. And right now, we cannot leave it to YouTube or to Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook to regulate hate. They don't have an interest in doing that. It's not their job to do that. It is up to us. It is up to our government. It is up to us to make sure that hateful messages that are put out purposely to divide and create hate that drives people to do acts of violence and acts of terror against people like Muslim community, that has to end. And we need to see that action. And the Liberals have been delaying for far too long on this.
But what specifically can the federal government do about this?
Well, they can bring in a law right away. They can bring in laws to regulate online hate. They can bring in laws that clearly state if there's a message that is purposely spreading misinformation that is designed to incite hate. We've seen that towards the Asian community. We see that consistently towards the Muslim community, that those messages cannot be allowed to proliferate online. They have to be removed. They have to be stopped. And the Liberal government has the power to do so. They promised to do it in 2017. Over 4 years later and no action. That is not good enough.
Next question, we will go to Amir with the Daily Hive. Amir, go ahead.
Good morning, Jagmeet. Thanks for taking my question. First, what do you say to the grieving families and Muslim community as a whole across Canada?
Well, this was an attack on everyone. This was an attack on the safety of families down the street. This is an attack on every Muslim family that now, and has always looked over their shoulder, now is even more fearful. And so there aren't the words to express how devastating this is in a country where people fled persecution, fled as refugees to seek sanctuary and safety in Canada. That same sense of safety and sanctuary has been rocked. It has been eroded. It has been horribly injured. And so we've got to work hard to reinstill the safety and sense that you are welcome and safe here. And to do that, we've got to tackle the root causes of this hate that is clearly there and it is clearly directed towards Muslims. So we've got to do things to tackle online hate. I've also said we've got to use our resources to to target the groups that are motivating this hate, the hate groups, the white supremacist groups, the extreme right-wing groups that are purposely promoting these messages. We need to see federal resources go towards preventing this type of violence against Muslims instead of what we've seen in the past under conservative and in fact liberal governments, where all the security forces seem to be targeting Muslims, but not the people that kill Muslims. This is a line that the president of the NCCM said yesterday at the vigil, and it is a very powerful line. And I want the families to know that you can count on me as an ally. Count on me as someone that's going to stand with you and hear your voice and lift your voices up.
And while that action would, I'm sure would be appreciated from the Muslim community, would that help stamp out these sort of lone wolves that are, maybe just living alone and sort of wallowing in their thoughts? And do you think that the signaling out hate groups and hate crime online would do enough to stop these people from coming out of the woodwork to perpetrate these attacks?
But what we've seen in the evidence that we have in the attacker in Quebec, for example, and the massacre there, that attacker was not affiliated with a group. But from the investigation, it is clear that he was radicalized by visiting extreme right-wing ideology websites and social media, from consuming material online from white supremacist groups. So we know that these groups may not operate in a concerted effort. Someone might not be affiliated with one particular group, but people are radicalized by these groups and by these online messages of hate. And so it is very clear that we need to tackle that online hate and to tackle those groups. And we've seen that for a long time, the real and urgent threats to Canadians have been ignored by security forces, that they have not been investigated. There hasn't been resources or a priority placed on them. That has to shift as well.
Thank you. Next question, we will go to Chris Reynolds from Canadian Press. Chris, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Thanks for taking our questions.
Of course, thank you.
Yesterday, Prime Minister Trudeau responded to a question about whether Bill 21 fosters the kind of hate or intolerance that resulted in the London attack. I'm wondering, so he said he doesn't believe there is that connection. Would you agree with him there?
I would say that type of bill is discriminatory. It's something that I fought against. I will continue to fight against. And it sends a message that it is wrong just to be who you are, to wear clothes, to carry certain symbols, that doing that makes you wrong. And that is a painful message. That is a hurtful message. And that does not help us build the society we want to build. So I want to be very clear. It is a law that I'm opposed to. It is a law that is hurtful. It is discriminatory. And it is a type of message we need to stop.
On another subject, the federal government says that fully vaccinated Canadians and permanent residents crossing the border into Canada will soon no longer have to stay at a hotel for part of their quarantine. They're looking at easing those restrictions in stages starting early next month. I'm just wondering what you make of this. Is it about time? Should it happen sooner? Do you support it?
Well, some of the measures that we've heard that were just announced today seem like they're in line with public health guidance, encouraging people to get vaccinated. But this whole quarantine question, I'm sad to say this, but the Liberal government has been very unclear. They've done a very bad job of dealing with the question of quarantining. The quarantine hotels have been a debacle. The lack of preparation in making sure people who came to Canada early on were quarantining properly to prevent the spread of the infection in the first place. This is where the Liberal government has certainly made a lot of mistakes and have been very unclear. This step forward seems to be in line with public health guidelines. And I'll, again, always defer to the experts in terms of what is the best interest of people's health. And that should be what guides us in these decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see if there are any other questions. S'il y a d'autres questions. Je pense que c'est tout. Ça conclut notre conférence de presse. I think that is it. So that concludes our press conference. Thank you, Jagmeet.
Thanks very much. Thank you.